Welcome to Rich Conversations. This is going to be one of the most interesting episodes I think that we'll have. This is going to be special. This is a long time coming. This episode has been 20 years in the making.
20 plus.
20 plus. And it's going to be hilarious. It's going to be great. Welcome, Kelly, to the show.
Thank you very much.
Why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
I am Kelly Moran. Should I say how I met you, or should we wait for that?
Let's get into it. So
Yeah.
Kelly was my AIM girlfriend.
Yeah.
Back when I was in
Circa 2000, Y2K maybe, 2001.
Is this like 2001? This was like 6th, 7th grade. 2001.
We lasted
2002.
a while, and we might have went into 7th grade, 6th
Yeah.
and 7th.
So back in the day, kids, there used to be this thing called AOL, and
Best.
this is what I wanted to talk about on the episode too, is like where technology was, where the internet was during this time, and like how like open and wild it was. My memory of it is I met your older sister in a chat room. So this is AOL.
God.
This is like the dial-up days where you had like an internet connection, and you often would get, at least this was my experience growing up in like rural Wisconsin, in cereal boxes there'd be AOL CDs, and
You're so right. I forgot about the CDs. Amazing.
you would download these AOL messengers or internet onto your computer, and you would have to like use the phone connection to get on the internet. And then once you're on the internet, it's like this web of information and things you can do. And there would be part of AOL was like these chat rooms.
Yes, the best part.
So get this. Strangers could all enter this chat room and then just start talking. Like a text message thread or I don't know what you would call it now, but like Slack or I don't know. And then to start off with, when people got into the chat, people would do ASL. Which means age, sex, location.
What more do you need to know than ASL?
Come on, let's get straight to the point. Age, sex, and where are you living? And I met Kelly's sister in one of these, and then she introduced me to you, allegedly.
Yeah.
And then we started talking, and then she was my girlfriend for a while. And back in this day, AIM or AIM, whatever you want to call it, you would have these screen names. And then you would have like this list of contacts, and you would see if someone's away or if someone's like available, and then you just like message with them. And you could have your computer screen just filled up with these boxes, and we would just like, that's how we spent our time.
Yes.
And like Kelly and I would just have these conversations.
And granted, you were in Wisconsin, I was in Pennsylvania, so we were dating, but like via the internet. But I wouldn't date anyone in real life. I don't know if you cheated on me. I mean, or does that count as cheating?
I don't know. I was 12 and I was really into girls.
Yeah.
But
good for you.
I was certainly committed to you virtually.
Same.
That's for sure. But here's the thing too. I thought she lived in California.
I lied. I catfished before catfishing was identified as catfishing.
So the things we're saying now seem kind of crazy, but like there weren't these terms for, and we were talking about this earlier. It's like there weren't terms like there are now. It was just like new and exciting and wild, and it was so awesome to us that you could just talk to people all over and then build these connections and relationships. And to me, being in Wisconsin and all my friends, you know, I was dating a California girl, and that was apparently I wasn't.
So sad. I'm very sorry about that.
You know, like, so that's kind of where culture comes from in America, in America is like California, and you have this image of, you know,
or New York.
Yeah. Well, these California girls, and like, you know, so
surfing.
I'm like, you know, I'm pretty cool to my friends. I got a California girlfriend, and we would just spend, that's what like we did as teenagers, at each other's houses. We would be online and then just like talking to people. And then
it was the golden age of the internet, in my opinion, because it was special. You had to be home or in a specific location to log online. Now it's in our pockets. Yeah. We're always online. We're always connected. There it was like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to get in my chat room and I'm going to message my boyfriend about whatever our day, or making up day, as I did. I made up days. Yeah. I would pretend I was a surfer. You weren't my only victim. Like I dated you and I got to know you and everything, but like I would always tell people I was from California. It wasn't personal. I just wanted to be from California, and that was the beauty of the internet.
And then she eventually moved to California.
Exactly. I manifested it. But yeah, it was role playing for a lot of people. You didn't have to be yourself.
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about it too. But I think it's cool that, like, you could say the internet is this other space where it's not necessarily real, and you're saying that you like made up this persona or role playing, yet here we are physically 20 years later, and this is real, is it not? Like we're here physically, and the connection that you build, and then we just kind of like observed each other's lives, and we kind of generally know what been up to.
We were pen pals. But I mean, I don't know how we connected after, because just MySpace maybe, and then that led to Instagram, or Facebook and then Instagram.
Facebook and then Instagram. Yeah. So we followed each other all through those platforms. The progression of the internet in our like also projection, but meeting people online and stuff, you can just kind of get lost, and I talked to that person at that point, and
Yeah, I have people that I've lost that I still think about sometimes, that I was very close with via the internet. Yeah. And I wonder where they are now. Yeah, what's going on.
And now, like, I'm in your Miami apartment space.
Out of all the places we meet in Miami in the world, yes, I'm so happy.
Yeah, let's track this. You grew up in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
But she was in California.
Exactly.
And then I moved to Chicago, and I've stayed in Chicago, but you moved to California.
I did, when I was 18.
So you lived in Los Angeles, and then now you live in Miami, and then I'm visiting Miami, and I was like, hey.
Fate has connected us.
Yeah, so here we are. And then, what was your life like at that time?
In Pennsylvania? Or
like
where?
When we were like messaging each other, what was going on? What were you interested in?
I was new in middle school, so that was a whole thing. Because obviously, I don't know if it was the same in Wisconsin, but we had elementary schools were smaller, and then once 6th grade hit, you would go into the middle school and just combine with all other kids that were your age.
See, we didn't do that in the country, because I was in the country. Yeah. It was just like K through 8. Yeah.
That was it. You only had a small school where.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we go to high school, and then you kind of feed. You have that.
Yeah, get the shock of, I don't even know, it's hazing. But the good thing is you can become a different person. So I was like all about being popular, and because that's what we grew up with, Disney Channel and Clueless and all that stuff. So I was really into that, and just kind of rebranding myself, as we say now, when I was 12. All about the internet. I did love my anime, so I thought that you and I met on an anime chat, because I would go in and like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Tenchi.
No.
Okay, it's old school anime. I don't even know if you can find it anymore. But I would go and like.
I distinctly know that we did not meet through an anime chat.
I thought you were an anime fan.
Okay, because in 6th grade, it was sports and girls. That's all I was interested in.
Of course, yeah. Well, I didn't really like boys yet, except you.
Except me. But like, I was into sports. I wouldn't have been aware of like an anime chat, and that's what's so cool too. Is like, and especially now, everybody can find their own. Whatever they're into,
niche.
But yeah. So then you moved to California.
When I was 18, I could not wait to get out of Pennsylvania. And the thing why I said California, it's not just totally lies, although it is. But my mother and father met in California. They lived in California. My sister was born in California. And then they moved back to Pennsylvania before they had me, because they wanted to be closer to family. So we would go visit California, and I would be in shock that this place existed and we didn't live there. Why did you move from here? So I just always, and again, like you said, it was the peak of culture in those times, and it still kind of is, that to be a Californian. So that was like what I wanted. So I just would make up this little life, and then I actually connected with you, and it was kind of too late to change it, because I was So
see, but you knew. I think this is what I feel like when I talk to like younger people, is like, you know like kind of who you are and what you're interested in from a very young age. And it's like whether you have like the courage and the fearlessness to kind of live that and pursue it, right? And like you knew from a very young age, like California, or like now you're in Miami, like you knew inside you something that you wanted to pursue or go after.
Absolutely.
In a way, right?
You're drawn to it, what you're meant to have and experience.
Yeah.
But something about going back to the whole catfishing thing is, in those times it was different because we didn't have our online profile photo or anything. All there was to go off was literally a screen name, and you could imagine anything. So like I would make up what you looked like in my head. I think you sent me one photo, I don't remember.
No, I've sent photos.
Yeah, but we would fantasize and like just like, so of course we had our dream relationship when we were 11.
See, it was about the substance of conversation.
Exactly. It was. I missed that.
What was your screen name?
Oh God, I had many. Probably Limited to Girl or something, or like XX Cutie Kells XX. That was one.
That's probably the one.
Yeah. What was yours? I forget.
Mine was always the same. It was just TC Jaguar 027.
Oh, I remember. I just got a feeling of butterflies. I'd see sign on. It's like poo, and TC. But I'd wait for you to message me. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I played it right.
Yeah, it's such an exciting time. It's like the internet was so different. And you know, we were talking about this earlier on the way here. It's like we, in a way, were the first generation to experience the internet. And while it was around like in the 90s, like millennials experienced the internet at a time of youth. And that's when like culture really blossoms or goes in a whatever direction it may go in.
Character building.
Yeah, it's spurred by youth. And so we were kind of the first generation to bridge the analog and the digital world. What do you think like our generation's, I don't want to say legacy, but like role, when we're looking back, what do you think our generation's kind of like impact will have been in the frontier of the internet?
Well, and again, I said this a little earlier, but I do think, like you said, we were the first wave of like kind of an experiment of having the internet in your home, the CDs that brought life, AOL. But I think, yeah, we were just the guinea pigs. And when we are probably 30 years from now, even a little older, we're going to look back and say, in my day, even now we're saying we had the CD and you download it.
Yeah.
But it's, I think.
And it comes in your cereal box.
Exactly. The best. I think that, I don't know, I think we'll just get lost in the chaos. I don't know that we really meant anything to the online.
Now, when you say guinea pigs, like that makes it seem like someone was like up top controlling what was happening.
I don't think they were yet at that time, necessarily. It was more of a free Wild West.
Yeah.
But because it was so successful with us, that's kind of why it evolved into what it is now. So maybe we're the catalyst of modern society.
How did AOL fail? Are they still around?
It is what it is. Like Blockbuster, now it's Netflix. Soon Netflix will leave and it'll be something else. Tesla, now it'll be the next. Like, it's just, they're gone. I think they're around, actually. I've seen rarely like someone at AOL.com. You're like, really, bro? You gotta let it go. But I don't know how they failed. It's sad.
Yeah, it's, I don't know if it's sad, but it's like
business.
Well, it's just interesting how something can be such a like massive part of society and culture, and then within 10 years, like poof,
dissolves.
It's like out of people's minds.
MySpace.
Out of people.
MySpace was the pinnacle of society, the center of the world. Everything was about MySpace, and now it's what? What's that? Or even Xanga. Xanga. Did you have that?
I did not dip my foot into Xanga. It felt like the poor man's version of MySpace.
I mean, I knew Xanga before MySpace, I think, but it was more of like a journal. You could type things and say, today my mom said, wish you were never born, or like these dramatic things. And you never, whatever.
So it was more like a blogging.
Exactly. It was blogging.
Okay.
Early blogging. And then MySpace was like, here's my photos.
Yeah.
But I can connect with anyone on MySpace. That's where like the DMs originated. Direct messaging.
Yeah. MySpace had this very like, we would look at it now as toxic.
The top 8.
The top 8.
Oh God, so much drama stemmed from the top 8.
I was pretty particular in my top 8.
You had to be.
Yeah. No, we followed each other on MySpace?
I don't know.
Were we?
Because there was a few years where we lost each other.
We probably broke up.
Yeah, we broke up. I was angry. You were mad. How could you lie to me? Like.
I don't even remember like
happened.
how it happened or.
You were never mad. We were just kind of like we aren't living in the same town. And I think someone asked you out or something, and you were like, "I'm gonna go out with someone here," and it was like a mutual parting, but we were still friends. So.
Yeah. What an interesting time.
Yeah.
What a time it was.
We're lucky. We have.
But that's like such a unique experience, and do you think? So we talk about that and like that experience, chat rooms, instant messaging, how new it was, how the internet was like starting. Do you think 12-year-olds today will have conversations 20 years later, like we are now, talking about how they met and what the internet was like then?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the human experience. It's constantly, especially in civilization, it's always rapidly changing. Like our grandparents didn't have electricity. So they get together and like, can you imagine? Now look at it. And that's exactly what is going to keep happening. It's a cycle.
What I'm noticing, because now we're like transitioning into like a new phase of life.
Yes.
And how like by certain buzzwords you can connect who was part of like this generation or sub-generation based on the internet, because it goes so quickly. It's like if I say MySpace, AIM,
you're revealing your age, or
you're revealing your age. Just like anything else in like culture, you're revealing information about yourself and like a time in your life that you were participating in.
Even Vine, like I never got involved in
Vine.
Vine.
I didn't
feel like,
either.
Because it wasn't us. Like we was a little bit younger than us. So people that like whatever comes after us.
Yeah.
I forget the people that are after us. Not Gen Z, but we're the millennials. Who's after us?
So I think old people like to make these broad like,
I hate that
categories of like, technically millennials are people born between the years 1982 and 2000, right?
That's a whole world away.
But with technology, now that doing generations like that before worked when culture and society was very linear, and now with acceleration of technology and digital world, it just like creates these sub generations of people.
Yes.
And so you can tell then the sub generations of when you're involved with it. It felt like at that time, culture was still, there was still like a sense of monolith culture. Whereas like now it feels really fragmented. And I like know nothing about like other things, but I know it's almost like now it's like you just find what you're interested in and you can live in that community and that space.
The algorithm. All we see now are algorithms. We don't see anything except for what we want. If something comes up that you don't believe in, exit out. You'll never see it again. Like we are living in our own little bubble.
This is the problem. Like when people talk about people complaining about like, I hear this, like Facebook, and they're arguing on Facebook with people that have different views in them and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, do you understand that this is all algorithm based? Mm-hmm. The more you interact with the person, the more the algorithm is going to show that person.
Because
so
it
you're
gets
like
you
feeding
active.
into
Yeah.
it. Like, what are you doing to yourself?
This is my problem with the internet now, as much as I love it, and it's beautiful, but there's a lot of darkness to it because now that corporations know how addictive it is and how successful it is, it is one big advertisement. So like we ourselves are the product too. They're selling it to us. Like I was talking about my friend wants a wedding ring, and we were talking about it. Next thing I know, now I'm getting all these ads for wedding rings. A baby. Now I'm getting baby spammed, and it's just like they're listening. That's the thing that I don't like. Like I want it to belong to the people, not the corporations. But I don't know if we'll get back to that.
This is. I don't think we have enough. I don't know if they have classes on this in school but like, what do you call this? Like media awareness and communication ethics. Those are all buzzwords, but like literacy, media literacy, where like understand that the human brain is now hackable, where all these, if you look at like Silicon Valley, we can study how the human mind works and how science and biology works, and so we can program things like apps and tools to make it feel, to create the same result or feeling that you would get from like game theory and like gambling or bingo and this like reward from
serotonin boost.
Yeah. But so on the other side, you have to understand this, and we have to communicate and educate people on like everything's trying to hack into your brain and get the results they want. Their goal is to keep you on apps and things as long as possible.
Exactly.
Because they can sell your attention to advertisers. That's like the whole thing of this. So you have to approach it that way. And like in my own life, I've created like a personal philosophy in how I go about using the internet and my phone now. And
like what?
So as you can see here, we have 3 phones. We're using 3 phones.
Yes.
I recognize the amount of power in these devices. I'm not anti devices or like phones. A lot of people will be that way because they,
But you can't exist in society if you're that way anymore. Like you have to give in, a little bit.
So you have to be very intentional about how you go about doing it. And we went to the beach earlier.
Yes, we did.
What is it? Biscayne Beach?
Key Biscayne. Yes.
And I was so paranoid that I was going to drop the phone in the water. I'm holding on to it like a vice grip. And like I said, like there's more. I was talking to Kat Kennedy from NASA. She's been on the podcast 3 times now.
Wow.
And we were talking about there's more power.
There's more technology, you said in the phone. Yes, say that again.
There's more technology and power in this single phone in my hand than the technology we use to get to the moon.
Boom. That blows my mind.
So how are you going to use this tool to your benefit? We now live in like this world where the internet is opening everything up, and if you're intentional, you can go about it in a way to unlock your dreams. Whereas like before, you would have to rely on institutions or companies or like all these things and like pray, here's my resume, please hire me, please do this, please do that. Like now you can just create the future, your life, whatever you want to do, just do it and use the phone for it. So what I don't scroll. I'm very limited in my scrolling. I will on Instagram a little bit, but I use Instagram more as just like setting up logistics and like messaging, like especially with the podcast. I took Reddit off my phone. I could do a better job. I found myself scrolling on Reddit a lot.
Men love that.
But like Reddit, what I found with Reddit is like it's too many people whining and complaining.
Yeah, that's what everything is now.
Maybe that's like the subreddit. Never go on the like ask this, ask that subreddit, because it's just people like. What I have found also about the internet is that insecure people, people wanna, and this goes down to like the human experience. It's like people want to feel understood and validated and respected and have a sense of belonging. And sometimes you can't get that in real life. So
Yes.
the internet allows people to experience that in different ways, and there are different platforms where people can really find people they connect with or that feel the same way. So in a lot of these, like, say, Ask Men categories, subreddit.
That's a category? They ask men?
A subreddit.
I don't really know Reddit that well. I know it's an unimaginable tool for research if you want to get to know anything, and everything is on Reddit before it comes to Instagram and everything. I know that.
Right.
But what is Ask Men?
It's like men seeking advice and, like, probably not wisdom, but, like,
What's an example of a question that would be asked?
I've been so far off of Reddit. One would be like, is it Ask Men or one of these? It's like someone kind of like shares an experience. You know, maybe they got dumped, or maybe they lost their job, or maybe like, hey, I lost 15 pounds. Here's my journey, type of thing. And then people respond. The replies to that, like, validate that feeling of like, hey, I'm proud of myself for doing this. I broke up with my toxic girlfriend after 5 years and, like, emotionally abusive situations. And then, like, other men are sharing their experiences, or like this can be with, like, anything. A lot of times people just want to post stuff to just, like, vent in a way, or just, like, just put it out there, because especially in, like, society, like, men were not conditioned to be open with our feelings and, like,
toxic masculinity,
share all of that. So, like, you know, there's just, like, different platforms that where you can do that. But I find too, like, it's not a great use. Like, I find that almost like everything is not productive. Like, I talked about my morning routine.
Yes.
I do the same thing every single morning. And this takes like when I'm in Chicago, like 4 to 5 hours. But it didn't start that way. It started with like, okay, I want to live a better life. How do I go about doing that? Well, you know, I heard like journaling's like good for you. Okay, so I'll start journaling 5 minutes, right? Or meditating. I got these like bootleg meditations that I've been doing since like.
Bootleg meditations?
So my friends shared these Sam Harris 50-day meditations.
Ooh.
So it was a Google folder with 50 audio of 10 minutes each meditations. It's like 50 days. And I just like do those every single day. So it's like 10 minutes. And then like I used to do journal a little bit. But then you see the results and you like feel it inside you.
Yes.
So it's these habits and like taking action and being proactive that you feel better, and that feeling, you just want to do more and more of it. So the routine didn't start at like 4 hours, 5 hours. It's not like one day I'm gonna flip a switch and then tomorrow I'm just gonna spend 5 hours on myself. Like, it doesn't happen that way. You build up to it, but
that's what you enjoy, and that's what gives your life purpose and meaning, is like being aware of your consciousness and meditating and taking the time to actually slow down and live, not just, okay, I'm getting up, I'm gonna run out the door and like get stuck in traffic. Like, no, that's so beautiful that you give that time to yourself. That's the most precious thing you can do.
What I've learned, or what I believe, is that like, if you have the fundamentals of like being the fundamentals of being a human being and like functioning at a high level of our potential, human potential, once you have the fundamentals down, like everything else, it's like playing life on easy mode in a way, because you're so fundamental. So if I spend 4 to 5 hours a day, and this includes a number of different things, but like you're so focused and your mind is so clear that you're so precise in your actions, that everything else is a waste of time. Any answers that I need are not on the internet. They're right here.
Wow.
They're right here.
Wow.
So I don't need to go on like, you know what I mean? Like, it's, the more you do these things, it sounds like a lot of time. But if you really do the math of how much time you spend watching Netflix or name another streaming service, or like playing video games, or just like picking up your phone and scrolling, all that time adds up. So if you just like allocate your time differently, life is just full of problems. So if you build up the fundamentals as a human being, you can just solve those problems a lot easier.
So it's interesting you say that, because I'm reading a book. I don't know if you're familiar with Qi and like the Taoist belief, and it's like
huge fan of the Tao Te Ching.
Yeah. So
my guy, Lao Tzu.
So basically, when you're watching television or scrolling aimlessly on Instagram, that we think that we're resting, but we're not, and it does take energy, precious energy from our body.
Yeah.
So when you're doing things like journaling and meditating, you're restoring that energy. So no wonder you feel so good afterwards, and you feel ready to take on life, because you're not drained. You're giving back and honoring yourself.
And it's also too, you're able to give more to everything around you. So I like, say I'm reading philosophy every single day. Every moment, even in my apartment, but like when I step outside the apartment, there's a world that you're interacting with, and there are other people in this world. And every interaction you have with somebody is like a ripple effect that spreads. So you want to make sure, or I make sure, that I do my best to have a great interaction with each person, because that interaction is going to spread.
That's how
right?
you change the world.
Right. But you got to do it all the time. Mm-hmm. You got to like practice. It's all practice. Every day is just like practice. And it's fun, because then it's like, that every single day when you wake up, you can make an impact. Every single day. And it's like, you don't take breaks from that. You don't take a break from being a human being. You're always a human being. So just be your best self all the time.
Yes.
Aspire to that, right?
I notice when I'm walking in the street, and some days everyone's giving me dirty looks, and I'm just like, what is it? Like, why is everyone in a bad mood? Maybe because it's me, because then when I'm walking another day and I'm feeling great and I'm just smiling to myself, everybody smiles at me. Like, it really is, you get what you give, and it's all energy and everything like that. But when I smile at someone on the street and connect with them, because now everyone is so on their phones, and that world out there almost feels not real anymore. It feels like the phone is the real world, if you get too trapped in it. So when you connect with someone out there, it feels like... What
do you think about that with people in screens? Like when I'm on public transportation in Chicago, you go on a bus or a train, literally you just look around and everybody's like this. Mm-hmm. Now, people will say like, oh, when they had newspapers, they did that and stuff. But like, newspapers weren't this like active thing trying to... It's
the newspaper
I feel
ends.
like it's apples and oranges, I feel like, in a way. Because it's not trying to confirm the newspaper isn't actively designed
to target you and like baby,
and to keep you reading
this.
It ends.
Of course it will come the next day, but when you're finished with the newspaper, you're done. The phone never ends.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that's tricky about public transportation, is there's this weird unspoken rule where you're not allowed to really look at anyone, and you learn that quickly when you move to the city, because at first you're like, hey, I'm gonna change the world, and you're smiling at everyone, and then somebody like does something, pees on you, or anything can happen in the public transportation. So everybody just looks down. So if you don't have a book or something, you're gonna be on your phone.
What do you do on public transportation?
I would read as much as I could, because in Los Angeles, I don't really take it out here, but in Los Angeles, it's underground, most of it, where I was living. So there's no service, so you can't be on your phone. Plus, you don't want your phone out because somebody's going to grab it. Like, it's crazy. So I would read or have a friend, but mostly read or stare into the abyss.
Yeah.
What about you?
I used to have... COVID kind of threw this off, I will say.
Like everything?
Yeah. Like...
Life?
I used to... What I have found... There was a point... like last fall, where I felt like more depressed than I have felt in like 10 years. So then I took a step back, and then I was like, evaluating and being objective. Okay, what am I doing right now? And then like 5 habits stuck out to me. I wasn't eating healthy. I wasn't like moving. You know, I don't know if people don't need to be like exercising, going to the gym, like doing all that stuff, but just like move
Absolutely.
your body, right?
Yes.
So I wasn't doing that as much. I wasn't clearing space. Now this is a huge one. Like just go on a walk. Just let your mind just wander. And that just like if anybody has like a MacBook, for me, I have like an old version and the storage is always getting filled up. And it's like it pops up, disk full. You can't do anything.
So true.
And it's like, what? Clear space. And then you clear space and then like
The world
it
is yours.
runs really efficiently again. So our brains are also processors, just like computers. So the less things you put in it and fill up with it, if you clear the space, then you're able to operate at a higher level. So that, and then reading. I hadn't been like reading as consistently as before.
Because you're depressed too. Like,
Well,
it's hard
it was
to
like
read.
it was hard to be motivated.
Yeah.
And the 5th thing, and this is probably the most important thing, was I wasn't being social.
Well, that's what it was. That's how and this is during lockdown. And
This
COVID,
was like
right? Or
after. This was like
just still residual stuff.
2021. Well, I used like so when COVID happened, I was like, all right, I'm gonna bunker down. I'm gonna just work. So it's just like grinding every day. But now, like in Chicago, things were open up. Like things were like really open. But it was kind of like, well, I could just like stay in and just
Well, there was,
work.
of course, and you got accustomed. In the beginning, it was torture to stay in. It was, oh, I want to be free.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you couldn't even really walk. So, and you were alone. And usually, if you are a person who does get depressed, which I think everyone does, you have a friend or someone that can come and kind of get you out of your head and give you ideas and regenerate you. But there wasn't that, and there was a lot of pressure. And then we're constantly doing is being online and seeing the world burning, and just like it was hard to like even when they reopened, there was still that pressure of don't go out. You're horrible if you go out. Like so, it was.
Yeah.
And it was scary. It still is, you know? So that's, it's easy. I think most people were depressed afterwards and during. So.
But this was like a time, I didn't feel that until like recently. Then I addressed those habits. And like getting back to what you asked before is like, I found that I don't sit in my apartment and read. Like I won't be like, okay, I have a half hour. I'm gonna like read a book or read a chapter. That's not how I read. What I do is I found that like before COVID, I was always out and about in Chicago. And so I would read on public transportation, or if I'm meeting with somebody at this time, I'll show up like 45, half hour minutes early and just like read. I'll just read in all these like weird times, and then it just like accumulates. But then not having that like going out and about, I didn't have that joy reading, like just sitting there and reading a book. Just, I don't want that. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's that's how I interact with it.
And how did that's what prompted you to start this morning routine, like looking around and realizing you were missing all of those things, or?
No, my morning routine helped me realize why I was feeling this way. It's like I was feeling this way, but the morning routine helped me determine, like identify these things that were happening. And that's, I think, the value of like self-reflection.
Absolutely.
Like if you don't actually like just take the time to think about your life, just take a step back, be in silence if you need to, like think about your life and the problems you have. Right? We all have problems. Life is full of problems.
Of course.
They remain problems if you don't figure out how to solve them. So you have to identify, okay, I have a problem here. I'm feeling this way. This is a problem. I don't want to feel this way. What am I doing right now? And just like being objective about yourself.
Process of elimination too.
Yeah. It's like, okay, now I can work on these things. Now I can be proactive. Whereas like if you don't take the time to identify like be aware that you are feeling this way, which is fine, which
Yes.
is totally okay.
It's normal.
You're right. Okay, so why? Get to why. Okay, now let's think. What have I been doing? What am I not doing? Okay, how can I do it better? And then check up on yourself. Like, how am I doing in the progress of this? What do you think? Is it like part of culture that American culture in particular, where we feel like we have to be productive
Yes,
all the time?
It's American.
You're very sharp on
it's
it.
American culture. It's everywhere. It is the world, absolutely. Not every single country, but that, like we were talking about, everyone has money that you need to work for in some way, shape, or form. But America is the most get up, grind. Don't worry about friends. I don't need relationships. I want money. I want that. Like, and we also are pretty much the only country, as far as I'm aware, really, that has credit cards to the limit, to the effect that we have it. Like, we go and it's not even real. Most people don't even have money. They just have this credit.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I'm going off on a whole different thing, but it is only America for sure. That's also why we're like obese and sick and dealing with all these problems that a lot of countries are not, because they don't work their lives away. They take time to have a long lunch break, to enjoy talking to their friends, to sit, to read, like,
So like all of that, what we're not really communicating, or what's not communicated in American culture, is like how to be productive. And like productivity, what I find in myself, and it's like why I'm here in Miami, is like I'm stumbling across where I'm not as productive as I would like to be. I think I can do better. How can I be better? I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna chill out a little bit.
Absolutely.
So I'm in Miami. I'm able to like remove myself and think more and reflect and just enjoy, just be.
And being in another environment, you get out of your habits, and you impress yourself a lot of times, just how you're.
And it like solutions. This is what's so crazy. So like, what
about
did
the
I say?
thumbprints and filling in the.
Oh yes. Okay, so we're talking about well, to finish that kind of thought is like. Solutions come in some of the most unexpected places, and being able to understand that, because it doesn't feel like if I go for a walk I'm being productive, but so many times when I go on a walk I solve my problems.
Absolutely.
I come up with solutions.
That's when your creative mind is actually working and you're open to receiving.
But it's never really communicated that way, and I feel like, so we want to, life is full of problems. The best thing to do is to solve those problems and figure out unconventional ways to solve those problems, or understand how you operate to solve those problems. So the fingerprint thing we were talking about. So we were on the beach. We were just like in the water. First of all, like
regenerating. Wasn't that magical? Absolutely beautiful.
So that was how many beaches have I been on now? That was the third beach. So like Mid Beach, South Beach, and then this is like Key Biscayne Beach.
Key Biscayne, yes.
This felt like different. It was so much more chill. It reminded me of just like we're just like off over here. It felt just
healing.
Yeah, it felt different. And something you noted was like there are trees there.
Yes.
And palm trees, and like something I love about like traveling to a place like Miami is the palm trees. Because coming from the north, you don't see these, so it's like a symbolism of like healing, freedom, and relaxation, freedom,
warm weather.
So it had those on it. The water was calm and warm. So we were in there. Then we like left out of the water, and I was like, actually, let's go back in the water. But we're talking about this fingerprint, and
filling in like, the facets of who you are type.
Yeah, it's like, I was thinking about this earlier today, how I just enjoy being here in Miami, whereas I think there's a lot of pressure from images outside or wherever they may come from of like, you have to see the entire world and you have to do everything. And it's like, I'm here only for a certain amount of time on Earth. I should just, it's like figuring out what I like to do, what interests me, and just do that. And then do it like regularly. So
it's about enjoying what you enjoy.
Yeah, enjoying what you enjoy and understanding you can't do everything, you know? And then also too, there's like an added pressure, say when you're traveling. If I'm choosing to take a vacation somewhere, you know, I chose to come here in Miami, but I could have chosen other places with warm weather too. To me, what's becoming really fulfilling is, it's kind of like, and I experienced this with New York, where you go somewhere for the first time, and it's kind of like for the Apple users, that like before you had to like, this goes back to like technology again, where you had to like use your fingerprint to like create this like login. Now it uses your face. I haven't set up the face thing yet.
I would never. That scares me.
So I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
But like, so you have the fingerprint, and then so it asks you, okay, do it once. Okay, now do it again. So the first time it got a general framework of what your fingerprint looks like to use. Second time is like, okay, we're gonna fill it in a little bit more so we have a better picture of it. And then we're gonna ask you to do it the side of your thumb, and then the other side, and then do the top, and then do the bottom. And I find like traveling, it's like you go to a place once, you get a general vibe of it. Then you go twice. Okay, now I'm starting to fill in the nuances. And that's like in New York, visiting my friend Joe, who's been on the podcast before, Joe Anhalt. It's like every time I go to New York now, there's less pressure to like figure out New York or do New York things. It's like I'm just gonna do me out here. Yeah, I'm just gonna be here, right? And you know, visiting him, I think like 5 times now in New York, and now this is my third time overall, but my first time in Miami was like 10 years ago. So last year I came to Miami. That was probably like the actual like real thumbprints of the experience. And now like this trip has just been like, I'm just filling in the fingerprints and just getting a more nuanced, and it's more laid back, I would say. Like I don't feel like I have to like do all the things, and I'm hanging out with like more people. Yeah, it's just like even more enjoyable.
I'm impressed with you that you found a train to Fort Lauderdale. I didn't even know that exists. The Bright Line, what's it called?
The Bright Line, yeah.
I had no idea. Where did you catch that?
My Uber driver.
What?
I enjoy having conversations with my Uber drivers because they know, I used to be an Uber driver myself. So I've like done over like 4,000 rides.
Wow.
And you get like a vibe and a pulse, and you know where like things are and what's going on. And we had this real nice conversation. I have this conversation with like a lot of people. It's like, I don't mind the Chicago winter, but it's the like spring where it's like 30 to 50 degrees and gray every day for like 2 months. Like, I don't like the in-between of things.
Absolutely.
So it's like, you know what? I'm gonna go to Miami and just like hang out for a little bit. And
some vitamin D.
And so I took this trip with this great conversation, and yeah, she pointed out like, oh, if you're taking Miami to Fort Lauderdale again, like you can just take this Bright Line here, and this is the station where it's at.
Where is the station?
I couldn't tell you in particular. You just Google it.
Yeah.
But Google it. Why do you think I have that information? Just look up Google.
You were there. It's like downtown Miami, or it's like
Fort Lauderdale. Yesterday was like a day of problem solving. Okay, I could have let yesterday get me down. So I recorded a podcast earlier with Shelby Thomas, marine biologist. We had like this miscommunication. And we recorded this morning at the Frost Science Museum. But originally, I thought we were recording yesterday in Fort Lauderdale. So I went up to Fort Lauderdale. I took the buses, and then I hopped in an Uber. And then I got to the beach, and then we like missed each other. So then we're like, oh, it's like no big deal. Like I'm not a big
That's horrible.
It can be if you let it.
Yes.
It's your reaction to things, right? That really make or break anything. And it's like being angry or like being frustrated, like it doesn't solve problems. It doesn't make anything better. So just solve the problem then. So, so the Uber driver before that dropped me off, he told me about the Brightline. So I'm like, okay.
So you got to Fort Lauderdale via bus and Uber, and then you caught the Brightline in Fort Lauderdale back to Montreal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, how do I solve this problem now? I have to get back to Miami. So then I took an Uber to the Brightline and then got on it. And it was like the most impressive train experience I've had.
Really?
I was blown away by the Brightline. Like you walk in and it's like an Apple store. Everything now that's like new and hip, like LaGuardia, when I go into LaGuardia, it's just like, oh, it's the Apple store. And it's like all the materials they use and the minimalism and the design and the just like smoothness and customer experience. It was just like so fantastic. And then while I was on the train, the service is just like impeccable. It's phenomenal.
So wait, the Apple Store gives impeccable service? I've never really actually been.
I don't know. I'm more of the design of the building.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you too much about the service.
Yeah.
I haven't gone there enough. But so this train experience, it's like.
But the Brightline.
The Brightline.
Let me tell you about it.
So it allowed me a chance to. I love like urban planning and learning about how like cities operate, because cities are like ecosystems, and I love like when I go to a city. Mostly what I'm interested in is just like seeing all the interdependent parts of a city that make it what it is, from the people and how they dress, how they conduct themselves, the things that they do, how they interact with their environments, the architecture, the streets, the like, even from the cracks on the sidewalks to like, or there's a lack of, not cracks on the sidewalk, but like potholes and things that weathering would cause in Chicago. And you can just tell a lot about a place by just like observing your surroundings. And transportation, how people move in a city is important. So like I've been using the bus system and the Metro Mover, and then now the Brightline, Uber.
Of course.
And then you drove me. So I got like all these different ways of transportation and experiences. And so you can take something like that where you can get down on yourself for like, okay, we're not recording today. We're going to record tomorrow. It screws up the day a little bit or the plans, but you know what? I'm going to turn it into a positive. And I learned about this train, and I'm like so inspired by this train. Like, why can't every train in America run like this?
I want to take that train. I really want to see. Because getting to Fort Lauderdale is kind of annoying. It shouldn't be because it's not that far.
The easiest.
Yeah.
Most awesome, pain-free experience.
Really?
I'm like, I hear about like trains in Japan, and like Europe has a reputation of being like good with trains.
Yeah.
This Brightline train it goes Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach. It's awesome.
Really? We've got to take you to, when you go to California again, it's called the Surfliner. And you take it from Los Angeles to San Diego or vice versa. It can go all around California. And it's one of the most beautiful train rides. And I think you would be very impressed. I've never been to the Brightline, so I can't compare it. It may be far superior to the Brightline, but the Surfliner is, you ride along the ocean. You can have a nice beer. Yeah. It's clean. It's impressive. So American trains are not all lost. There are some good ones.
That's all I'm curious about too, like in the 21st century, how like infrastructure, I don't know how many times I was like smiling to myself this trip of like the materials. I'm so interested in materials.
In what sense? Like,
so
everything?
So I talked to, I learn a lot from guests. Everybody that comes on, like my mind and perspective is expanded. And we talked to these, I keep going back. This is probably one of my favorite episodes. The Mansour scientists. They're siblings, 3 siblings that live in Istanbul.
Whoa.
And they're all scientists and engineers.
And they're living here, or?
They live in Istanbul.
And how did you connect with them?
On Zoom.
Wow.
We were just like chatting. Yeah. So their their parents are from Pakistan and Iran, and they were medical doctors, but their hobby was sapphires and gems.
Ooh.
So they would go vacation, or they would go take trips to Thailand. There's a city on the border of Thailand, and like 90% of the gems and sapphires sold in the world go through that city.
Really?
So they became inspired by that, and they got into like gemology, minerals, materials, and that led them into like physics and talking to other people that study physics. Everything in the universe is made up of atoms, but what makes things what they are is how they're assembled. So what they were saying is that, like, you notice all these buildings in Miami, and they're like teal and glass and like all cool looking, but those materials didn't necessarily exist in the past. And even in Chicago with like glass, you see this a lot, like glass skyscrapers and stuff. And we were saying, like, the material, what does the skyline of Chicago look like 50 years from now? We probably can't imagine it because those materials don't exist. But now, in the 21st century with quantum computing, you can take elements on the periodic table and put them together in combinations, whereas before, and like model the result, like through computers and like that. Whereas before, you would have to actually take those elements and then see the results, and then, okay, start over again. And then like, so it cuts down on the resources, the time, labor, the energy. It's so cheap to do, and this technology can be used. The first trillionaire of the world will come from materials, and it could be a 15-year-old with a laptop that discovers it.
And it will be.
So it's like, you know, they aren't going to be the ones that are in AOL chat rooms.
They missed out.
They're going to be in like science chat rooms now,
Exactly.
and like, yo, what did you get for that gallium combination and nitrogen? And,
But it won't even be that. It's soon going to be like just all in front of us, like 3D holograms. Anyways, continue.
Because materials, the most like, so just walking around Miami, I just noticed the buildings and just like how everything is designed and made, and I'm just like so excited.
And what's different about the materials they use to build buildings here versus Chicago? Because Chicago has winter, we have hurricanes and crazy winter. Los Angeles, they have to withstand
earthquakes and
I mean pretty much earthquakes or fires, but that's like.
So that's something I'm very curious about. Is like just the world around us, how we design, because everything is interrelated. So, you know, because the residents of the city, they have to look at all the buildings. They have to like, what do these buildings communicate to the residents that live here? Does it inspire them? Does it, you know, there's like such a connection that everything has within a city. And so like just detaching yourself from the city you live in and experiencing it here, there's all those same structures, right? There's, you know, transportation, there's, you know, physical buildings, there are people, like, but everything is different and unique and beautiful at the same time, you know? So, yeah.
I love the way you think.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that.
It's true.
Well, we are closing on time a little bit here. What are you curious about recently? We'll end on this question.
In just any sense, or I mean, I'm
life.
What's giving me meaning and happiness in a world where it's kind of hard to find if you're not present, because it's, of course, there's meaning in everything, but music has really been just and any kind of creativity, like art is, I'm just like diving into that, and because I think that is what balances out the negative things in the world, and I'm not just going to like Reddit and complaining, like that is a form of art also, but just
anything is art.
Anything is art.
Anything and everything.
Everything is art. But I think that it's just, that is what will keep us good and human and art. It's the
Yeah,
only
like
true
ground us. Yeah.
expression. But that's what's been interesting me. I mean, I
Yeah.
wish I had more of a scientific brain. Even though you are
I've
an
just been talking to a lot of
artist.
scientists recently. That's how I came to that. But like science itself is art, and literally everything is art. I'm reading this book right now called Nothing and Everything. I've been reading it at the beach and stuff, and it's like even silence is substantial in a way, you know?
It's the most substantial, like one
Yeah.
of the most.
Yeah, it's interesting.
What about you? What has been motivating, interesting you?
I would say the materials.
Yes.
That's what I'm most curious
circle
about right
back
now.
to the-
I'm gonna circle back to the materials. Probably not a common answer, but yeah, I'm excited personally to take what I've like kind of learned or discovered. I view life in like kind of puzzle pieces, and it's kind of this adventure that I'm on in life where I just like I try to find puzzle pieces everywhere to like put together this puzzle
Absolutely.
that I know I'll never actually complete.
Because we can't. We
but
don't have
it's
the capacity.
but it's fun and it's adventurous, and it's like just like constantly learning and exploring my curiosity. Just being here in Miami and you guys inviting me into your space. This is an incredible space.
Thank
like
you for coming.
I was like, right when we came in, I was like, wow, look at this bar. It's just like, you guys know how to decorate.
It's not me. It's Sebastian. I wish
Okay.
it was me. Any crystal is me. Or
He's-
like books, clutter. That's me. He's minimalist. Like he's.
He's
all
got these
about-
trunks. We were talking about the Titanic. What'd you
That's
say before?
amazing.
We were like,
So I was listening to them as Sebastian was giving Richard a tour, and they just sounded like young boys talking about like. But when you're younger, it's like, oh, check out my Pokemon collection, or yeah,
Yeah.
I got these, and then replace it with, oh yeah, this is my trunk. It's from the Titanic era, and they're like, oh
Yeah.
wow, just like the same excitement. But as you age, what you're excited about, I found that humorous.
yeah, I love how, this is something I'm curious about. It's like how people use their spaces to communicate like who they are
Yes.
and what their
Artistic.
interests are.
Artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of that comes down to art, and phenomenal space here. What I love in Miami too is the natural sunlight,
lighting, yes.
all the glass, and just like Miami's a pretty great place.
It's the best.
It's,
It's not the best, but it's one of the best.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Especially
it's
right
nice.
now. Now is the time to be in Miami, I think. I mean, I'm sure other people who were here 20 years ago thought so, but especially during the pandemic when I was here and looking
Yeah.
around and just seeing people, I was like, this is it. This is like the spot.
Well, it's funny you say that too, because like I didn't just come to Miami to just like go to the beach. I actually has only been on the beach like a few times during this trip, and for like a short amount of time. What I'm most curious about is like, it's not coincidental that I'm here.
Yes.
Having conversations with people, just like observing the world, has brought me here now, because I hear, like I know that Miami is like,
It's happening. There's
Yeah.
a lot happening here.
and a lot of forward thinking is happening here, and yeah, I was just so excited to explore it more. So it's fun, and it was so cool to know that like you lived here, and it was like, well, we haven't met each other in
Exactly.
person. We should take this as an opportunity, and you know, hang out.
Thank
So I
you
appreciate
for making
you.
this
Yeah.
happen. Thank you for reaching out and having this idea and considering me interesting enough to talk to on your podcast. I'm very honored.
Of course,
so-
we have such a shared interesting experience.
Exactly.
But it's
Unique.
not. It's unique, and also not. I feel like that experience isn't talked about enough.
No,
like
definitely
millennials during the early internet era, what it was like. Like I think that itself is interesting, and we can just see the we have a lot of software engineers on the podcast, and what they describe to me is that there are just layers and layers and layers building on the internet, and we were at a like very
Basic level.
raw layer of the internet. And
Stickfiguredeath.com. Did anyone else know that?
I don't
or
know.
Homestar Runner. Nobody.
I feel like I heard a stick figure death.
Stick figure death was huge, and it was just like all these different ways stick figures could die, and that was like so exciting on the internet. Just signing on to like watch stick figures die.
And
which is
how,
pretty
like,
scary, but
Not to like go back again, because we're like wrapping up here, but like how like pure and joyful the internet was.
Absolutely.
At the beginning of like before like consumer was like happening before, and like e-commerce in a way, but like
that was on the television. The
like
internet
people,
was its own thing.
like people interacting in this like just joyful space of sharing information and stories, and it was a beautiful time.
Yes, it was.
And we
still
here,
are in a beautiful time, even a little bit scary. What is life?
yes,
without a little fear?
and it's beautiful too. Like we talk about that beautiful time, and now that beautiful time planted a seed that has sprouted, and now here we are blossomed.
2022.
And you and I are together in the space. Former AIM girlfriend, and
Broke my heart.
but we're here, and life is good, and we're gonna continue to move forward.
Yes.
So, thanks for listening and watching, and have a fantastic day. Thanks again to Kelly.
Thank you.